Welcome back. Welcome back to Open Your Eyes. We're moving now into our second segment. This one is a conversation with the National Sports Council and upcoming events and programs they've got. Now in to talk to us about it, we've got Oscar Arnold, who is the Director of National Sports Council, and Kaya Katus, who is the Acting National Sports Coordinator, National Sports Council. Guys, good morning and welcome.
Hi, good morning. Good morning again, John and Marlene and Kaya.
It's always nice to have you guys in. Always, always, always. But there is a pandemic that is upon us, and everybody still want to be active. As a matter of fact, myself and Marlene, we were talking earlier this morning about the amount of people who are out there working out and trying to get something done, trying to get themselves moving. But we've got our students who are the majority, and they're not able to go on out and play some sports together. Let's get into that and what the National Sports Council have been going through this pandemic, and where do we plan to go. Oscar?
All right, great. If I can start off, well, we are still in a transition phase. We're getting settled in. But when we arrived here at the NSC, the National Sports Council, one of the first things that we noted was that there was not a post-COVID plan, kind of transitioning, getting out of COVID, because eventually the country will start to open up. There's been a great clamoring for the sport from the different sporting federations for us to try to see what we can do to open them up. We've been now, I think, over 9 months enduring the COVID-19 pandemic, and activity has been curtailed quite a bit. I mean, we know we have the curfews and we know we have all the protocols that we must adhere to. But when it comes to sporting discipline, there's almost been nothing going on. The Creme New Year's Day Cycling Classic also fell victim to the COVID pandemic. And we know we have the cross country coming up. We have different federations who have commitment for their national teams to travel and take part in certain tournaments. And we know that people on a whole just want to try to get back to do something. And so we take that with a great deal of responsibility, but we also have to look at it and to see how we can do it in a very safe way. We are encouraged by the numbers coming out of the Ministry of Health. The numbers seem to be trending down for a couple of weeks now. And so once we continue to see this, we will be able to go then and lobby the different stakeholders and to say, you know what, let's start off and let's start to open up a little bit more. We may not get to 100% right away, but we can start to do that. A lot of people, as you can see, are training individually, circuit training, maybe some aerobics and that sort of thing in the evenings and in the mornings. And it's that time of year. Everybody's trying to get their beach body for in the event that, 9th of March and Easter is coming. So we do have a wide cross-section of people asking, when are the gyms going to be open? When are we going to be able to use the other facilities in the country? And so we're right at that stage where we're developing a plan. Kaya and her team, the other sports coordinators at the NSC, were tasked with doing a post-COVID plan. When, for example, when sports return back to primary school and high school, how can we do that and how can we compete while being safe as well? And she can get into a little bit more details where that is concerned. And today, one of the programs that she's introducing or reintroducing is the PE in the living room for kids and for even adults who may be at home and have some time and just need a little bit of guidance as to what they can do.
All right, Kaya, tell us about your plan.
Well, like Mr. Arnold said, PE in the Living Room is a program that we are going to be reintroducing, and it actually starts February 1st, which is next week, Monday. PE in the Living Room is exactly what the name implies. Physical education right within the comfort of your living room. At the National Sports Council, one of our main targets or main focus is the primary school kids. So the content is suited for a child to follow. It's easy body weighted exercise, no equipment needed. They just need to go into their living room, turn on the TV, use a tablet, their phone, whatever it is, and follow a 30-minute instructional video on just simply keeping active. What we have done now is getting in contact with all the primary school principals, not only in Belize City, but across the country, and asking them to include the link for these videos weekly in the pamphlets that they hand out at school. So instead of the teachers having to prepare something for physical education at the Sports Council, we have taken the lead in preparing it, and all they really need to do is include it in their pamphlets or their online forum.
Mm-hmm. PE is normally graded at the school. It is a part of the grade. Will it be graded?
No, it won't be graded. It's just to keep the kids active and get them moving during the time that they're away from school and during this pandemic when they're literally just sitting down playing games, not really doing much.
Now, I think Oscar said it earlier. The issue is that a lot of people are kind of used to what they used to do before.
Yes.
They want to go to the gym. They want to play basketball. They want to play football. And it just isn't the time for that because of the health concerns that we have. How do you get people to make that mental shift? I know, Kaya, you've been kind of advocating for everyone to stay active in whatever safest way they can. What are some of the ways that you found for people to make that transition?
I mean, working out even before this was hard for many people. And now with this, like you rightfully said, it's even harder. So encouraging people to just move. You don't have to have equipment, or you can just walk. The Marianne Jones facility is the only Sports Council facility that is open countrywide.
Okay.
And we encourage people to use this facility. It's open from 5 in the morning when the curfew lifts until 8 at night when it ends. And people have been coming there. They have been working out. They have been practicing social distancing. And exercise is one of the things that you can do without wearing a mask.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you just have to monitor your surroundings and make sure that you're being safe at the time.
Yeah, and you got all that open air there at Marianne Jones. That definitely helps.
Yeah, and there are wash hand basins that have been installed. There are 2 sets. The caretakers here, they do take the temperature of everyone that is entering.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And we try to make sure that everyone follows the strict COVID protocols that are there. But you said an interesting thing, Marlene, because we're human beings. And human by nature, if you tell me not to do something, then there's an urge to even want to do it a little bit more.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we've seen is for the pure athletes, for the higher level athletes, they're the ones that have been gravely affected, because I still see the weekend warriors, the road warriors, the people who do their 2-3 miles around Princess Margaret Drive and that sort of thing. They are still doing that.
Yeah.
But there are some caliber of athletes that need a little bit more than that. They need some of the weight and resistance training that you can't find. Some people have been improvising, and that is good. We see that in all facets of Belizean life.
Mm-hmm.
And so we want to encourage that. We want to continue to tell them, listen, our numbers are trending down. We know that a big part of fighting this COVID-19 virus is to try to remain healthy, is to make sure that you're healthy so that your body can fight it in the event that you contract the virus. So being sedentary, not having any movement, not doing any exercise actually puts you at a greater risk.
Yeah. But we did mention one of the programs coming up, which is the PE in the living room. Is there any other program that's...
Let me just say something.
Sure.
Is it easy enough for everyone? Because Kaya, not everybody's living room look like yours with all those trophies.
Marlene, all you really need is a space. A small space that you are able to do a jumping jack.
Yeah.
You extend both feet and both hands, and you're perfectly fine. That's really all you need.
Okay.
Yeah.
Marlene, I was a little bit amazed when I saw the first couple of tape sessions and the editing. Kaya and the other young ladies and young men who lead the activity worked up a sweat, but the kids were keeping up. And so I believe it's for everyone, young and old, in between, even for somebody like me and Jan, no?
Yeah. I know with you, Oscar. But I did ask, in terms of the PE in the living room, that's one program that's coming up. Do we have any others that's on the horizon? Then eventually we'll get into the events, because I've got some questions there.
Yes. Again, we challenged Kaya and the team when we came here, because this organization is multifaceted. It's grown to a point where it can't be a one-man or a one-woman show. And so, Kaya, if you don't mind, there's a couple of things that we have asked them to look at in the pipeline. Some of them virtually, and others when the protocols are relaxed a little bit. But Kaya, if you don't mind.
We have two other virtual events that also will be launched in the month of February. And the first one it's a run walk competition where it's actually for primary schools, but anybody can participate and accredit their miles to a primary school. So how this works is you go out in the morning or whatever time of day, you record your run walk on any app on your phone or whatever device you use. You screenshot the amount of miles and the time that you did, and you send it into the National Sports Council. Now this is subsequent to registering as a participant in this virtual event. So let's say, for example, John would register and he would say he wants to support St. Luke Methodist School. So all the miles that John sends in will be accredited to St. Luke. So parents, teachers, friends and family of students, the students themselves are able to participate and try to get their school on the top of the list. Now at the end of the month, what we do is tally all the miles, and the school with the most mile wins.
Sweet.
That's what do they win?
Yeah, yeah. What will win?
Well, we have mahogany trophies for the schools so that they can showcase in their principal's office.
Yeah.
And we also are giving them face masks, two-sided, one side with the National Sports Council logo and the other side with their school's logo.
Wow.
And in addition to that, the first place schools from whatever district they come will win 1 month of free training at the respective NSC facility in their district.
Sweet.
Okay.
Kaya, my
That's
goodness.
a little bit more motivation to do some miles for my niece and nephew's school.
Exactly, Marlene.
And you don't have to live in Belize.
I must say at this time that Minister Kevin Bernard and our CEO Jose Urbina have been really supportive. They've ensured and they've given us their assurance that we will have whatever support necessary to get sports back on track.
Yeah.
We've met the facilities in some very unsavory states, and we are working to get those back up to minimum standards, at least in the interim, and then go from there.
Yeah.
CEO Urbina has also been encouraging us. For example, there are a lot of virtual marathons.
Yeah.
And so one of those will be coming up soon as well, where you register, you still get your bib, but it's an electronic bib.
Yeah.
And then you just go out and you go conquer the road.
Yeah.
And then again, on any app, any phone, any watch, you record your time and your distance, and then you send that in. Yeah. And based on that, we can tell you how you placed in the virtual marathon.
Yeah.
It's amazing how 5K, 10K, and marathons and half marathons have just transitioned so easy.
Yes.
You know, it really has been taking off. So sometimes you see people out there, you don't even know they're running a marathon.
Yeah.
But it's really great that people are staying healthy. But let's shift to another area, and I know it's a big passion for both of you. While the Sports Council is there to keep people engaged, since people aren't playing sports, and I'm not just talking about recreational, I'm talking about the athletes who have future goals of being professional athletes, what type of support have you been offering or can you offer during this time for people to keep up with their training so they can keep on pursuing the goal?
Sure. Great question. Again, it comes down to resources, and we've been able to try to get some of those available for them. We're speaking with the associations and the federations, and we're having our meetings with them scheduled as we go along. The mandate of the Sports Council right now is to pretty much oversee all sports in Belize, but the structure is that you have certain federations that are responsible for their respective sport. And a lot of times, if the athletes don't do well, or if the athletes do well, the federation shares some of the kudos for that, but we want the NSC to be far more engaged and far more resourceful in providing that level of support. I know you posed a question to the minister yesterday that you have a lot of good tell stories of athletes who have made it on their own. I want to say that while we do have athletes who participate in sports that the federation may not be as active, all federations play a big role and a major part in what these athletes, in the development of these athletes.
Yeah.
We know that a lot of athletes have been getting scholarships on their own. We've gotten a few more requests than what the NSC is usually responsible for.
Yeah.
Athletes getting scholarships, but they still have travel expenses, they still have housing expenses. So we're looking at that, but we will work along with the federation as well, because they are the ones that have a responsibility at times for their sport, and they manage their sport. But we know as the National Sports Council, we have to try to encourage these outliers, because a lot of times our athletes just excel on sheer talent.
Yeah.
And so both Minister and CEO has made it clear to me, as Director, we need to do more. You have to find ways in which we can do more to support these athletes. But with that support comes great responsibility for the athletes as well, because we want their discipline. We want to make sure that their motivation is there. A big part of what we want to do here as well is to try to start some level of sports medicine and sports tourism.
Great.
So we have some great friends over at the Ministry of Tourism. We have some great friends over at the Ministry of Education. And so partnering together, we're hoping, and the task is to make it a little bit easier for these athletes to source resources so that they can go out there on athletic scholarship. I am known for representing volleyball in the later years of my athletic career, but I've been involved in basketball, softball, and athletics was really my first sport.
Yeah.
And I know, speaking on volleyball, we have quite a few athletes out there, male and female. We know we have some football athletes out there, the athletic scholarship. We had some of the young ladies out in Jamaica. So we have to try to see how we can support these athletes.
Yeah.
And we want to increase it. We hope that we can get some cyclists out there to get their education paid for. Table tennis is still a young sport. A lot of their athletes are very young, but they're very good as well.
Yes.
Or
And
track.
so we're looking at it at the macro level, but we know we will have to get our hands dirty and get on the ground as well to try to bring some of these associations and federations to increase their level. Some federations are more organized and have a little bit more resources than others. But we have to make sure that at the end of the day, sports exists for help and for our athletes.
Yeah,
Of course.
and for the general motivation of the country.
Yep.
And that's what I
Sure.
wanted to ask. And you seem to be kind of at the beginning level of reaching out to federations. What about, and whose responsibility, you can help us understand, about ensuring that we start training programs to build fundamentals in young ones? Every country that we know that has exceptional stars in any sport, those children have been exposed sometimes from as young as 3, 4. In Mexico,
Sure.
they're on little national teams from
Yeah.
4, 5.
Yeah.
To really become professional athletes, they have to start that young.
Sure.
So what are we doing to we know it's the formula that works, so how do we
Agreed.
get there?
And there's various ways to answer that, but let me get, if I can at this point, I don't want to put you on the spot, Kaya, but from an athlete's perspective, what you would want to see, and then from an administrative perspective, I will tell you what we need to put in place.
Definitely from an athlete perspective, the federations, they definitely need to do more. Development programs are what are essential in any sport. Starting from the youth, like Marlene said, at the ages of 3 and 4 years old, is what is necessary and what is needed for any athlete to excel at the professional level beyond our borders.
Yeah.
So from an athlete's perspective, that's point blank the bottom line.
Okay.
Okay, great. Like I said, from the NSC point of view now, we want to work with the federations, because while you can use certain sport development models across sports, there are certain sports that have their own nuances, they have their own requests, they have their own resources, and they demand a little bit different. So we want to work with the federations, because the National Sports Council is in charge for the entire pie. But to make that pie, we have every singular federation and association doing their part. And they're the ones that are responsible for the management of that sport in the country. But what we can do, for example, we can make it easier for them to access our facilities. In the past, it's been like you've been pulling your teeth.
Yeah.
We can also make it a little bit easier when it comes time to travel. Now, there's a gray area there, because that sole responsibility should not fall on the government and the NSC, because we have other stakeholders. We have for example, the Olympic Committee, under President Heli Martinez has shown great stride in trying to develop the capacity of federations. We have the federations themselves, we have the athletes, and then we also have the business community. What we have currently is a lot of amateur sports. We have a couple sports that have ventured into the semi-professional leagues, basketball and football, for example. But we really need to understand that sports can become a business in Belize.
Of course.
We develop the talent at the younger age. For example, our kids compete greatly at Kodikadero and they win.
Yeah.
When we get to high school, the Belize Principals Association and the NSSC are the ones who are responsible for sports at that level.
Yeah.
But we want to partner with them. We want to bring the federations involved at that level as well, because if you miss that gap between 12 to 15 and 12 to 16, which is high school age, by the time these kids move on to national teams at the junior and youth and senior level, we are behind. So what I have seen over my 29 years is that we compete good at recently at the Kodikadero level at primary school, and then there's the gap at the high school, and then when these athletes go to our national teams, whether in basketball, football, or volleyball, we see that there is some level of making up that needs to get done.
Yeah.
The last international tournament that was held here at the Civic, where the female national team for Belize made us really, really proud. We see the end result, but we don't see the hours, the days, the 3-a-days, 2-a-days practices that take place for those girls to be able to compete at that level.
Yeah.
And those girls were training from they were little.
The little girls, yeah.
Yes, they've been in programs. They've been in programs, and the way the programs are set up is that at certain age, at certain development time, there are certain things that you work on. You don't go at it right away. You work on strength training, dexterity, balance at different stages. And so what Kaya said is true. Now, the Sports Council may not have the expertise in every sport, but we do know what's going on. We have ex-athletes, we have ex-administrators who can work with the federation. I am hoping that I can use my networking over all of these years and my relationship that I've developed with the different sporting organization, refereeing, coaching at high school level to bring all the stakeholders at the table and say, listen, we all must work. We can't build our silos, but we all must work for the development of the athlete. The athlete is core to what we're trying to do. And when they succeed, all of us can pick a piece of that success.
Well, listen, you mentioned the volleyball tournament, and I get chills just thinking about that moment. It's a high for the entire country, and we've experienced it in many different moments over time. When Kaina Martinez beat her first heat at the Olympics, we've seen basketball stars.
How prideful are we when a Belizean is coming in at with the first group on the cross country?
That's right.
Austin Williams.
With our collective heart wanting a Belizean to win.
Exactly. And I think as we speak about, listen, there are more people who are going to be watching the Super Bowl just because you have a Belizean.
Because you have Eunice Rochester in there,
a Belizean person involved.
Yes, I understand. Amazon sales of Buccaneers paraphernalia and shipping to Belize has increased. No?
Oh, I would imagine.
Yes.
Yeah, I might watch more than the commercials this year.
Actually, Roches is on the Chiefs.
But my point is, I think it goes back to the national pride that we have and the disappointment we feel when we kind of pull teams together last minute. I know, Kaya, you've spoken about this many times, and many other athletes have spoken about it. You try to pull things together last minute to just put something out there, and then there's a great disappointment when we know that the work begins long before.
Mm-hmm.
I will address that in saying this, right? When I started out playing, athletes used to have to do their own fundraising to pay for their own trips to represent their country. While that may still be the case in certain instances, it's certainly not all athletes that go out. And in my time, that was almost the case. So I'm glad that we have moved away from that.
Mm-hmm.
However, when we look at that, one of the things that we want to do here at the Sports Council as well is to track athletes from primary school, high school, all of the development. We want to introduce them to the Belizean public from when they started And so that you can almost have a talent identification and know that this particular athlete will do well in their discipline.
Yeah.
And we want to make sure that the Belizean public, the business entities stay engaged as well, so that they can say, you know what, if I want to do something, there's 10, 15 athletes that I can try to invest in as well, and I can try to support through their development. And so one of the things that we want to do here at the National Sports Council is to introduce these athletes so that Belize fall in love with them long before they become successful.
That's right.
And we take part in their development either by encouraging them or by providing the resources that is necessary, so that when they get to that stage, we already know we are expecting great things. And when that happens, we know that we are a part of that success.
Of course. You're
we
right.
We have a storied history in sports. I mean, our Golden Girls in softball. We had great boxers, our basketball players of the 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
Our cycling athletes in the past. And so we have to get back to that stage.
Absolutely.
Where it's a sport culture for those of us who compete internationally, but also a culture of sports where we do sports to stay fit for life.
Yep.
Where we want to do it for our own health.
Yeah. And
But
where you have little ones who want to have a healthier lifestyle, to be that professional athlete that they look up to.
Yeah.
And Kaya, you are one of those athletes. I could imagine how the kids look forward to seeing you. Let's not lose sight of the PE in the classroom and how other people can get engaged. You are guiding some of these classes as well?
Yes, I'm one of the main instructors for Belize City. We actually we have our camera people go across the country, because we want to keep the dynamics in having all our sports coordinators, adding that edge, giving it the extra flair from the different districts. For example, in Dangriga, they didn't just do a regular PE session; they did a Jankuno session. So that was a bit different. In Belmopan, they did like a dance session where they started to teach the dance, and by the end of the 30 minutes, the kids had like maybe a 3-minute dance that was choreographed. So there's a different dynamic in every district.
Yeah, that's lovely. Kaya,
and Kaya, I think I can vouch for Marlene and John. If we ever need some high profile instructors, we may need to recruit them.
Yeah, I'll do the basic introductory beginners level.
What else?
A couple burpees.
There you go.
Yes, man. No, and some planks.
And we're watching on screen the 1 hour or Jankuno session, and let's put that into perspective. That is hard work.
Yes,
definitely.
I didn't want to, Oscar, we know that we're about to wrap up, but I didn't want to lose this in saying that sport is also entertainment for the country. And everybody normally look forward to the La Ruta Maya, look forward to the cross country, which I'll fast track to the cross country. Can that happen? Testing for these guys leading up to, probably putting them up somewhere for the entire week so that they're not exposed, and try to get that entertainment on?
There are instances that show that if you can keep these events and athletes in a bubble, that you can do it. Obviously, it increases the amount of logistics and the resources that are there. But we are in communication. Our Minister of Sports, Honorable Kevin Bernard, and our CEO, Mr. Urbina, are committed to try to make these things happen. They are a big part of our Belizean DNA. But we must ensure that at the end of the day, even though we want to promote these activities, we also want to promote the health of our athletes.
Of course.
Kaya can tell you there's countless hours and years that she's invested in developing her body. And for you to have an athlete exposed to this Corona-19 virus and don't know what will happen, it would really deal us a blow if we have some of our high-level athletes contract this virus. So yes, there are certain instances where you can mitigate it, but we have to speak with the federations, we have to speak with the stakeholders and the teams involved, because we also want to make sure that we are responsible and that it is safe for our athletes and support crew, because cycling, there's a big support element to it as well.
Yeah, you're right. But we want to thank you so very much. Thank both of you for joining us this morning and giving us the good news of where sports will be going in the near future. Thank you, Kaya, Oscar. Thank you guys so very much.
Jan and Marlene, thank you so much for having us. Kaya, thank you as well.
Best of luck, guys. Stay safe.
Sure.
All right, so we're about to take a commercial break. When we come back, we'll be talking about a rescue of a manatee that was entangled in fishing hooks. Wow. Jamal Galvez will be joining us shortly. Stay with us. We'll be right back.